We likely want to become pro sound designers, but we might not always have the time that we can dedicate to practicing for long hours. So in this video, I'm going to go over how you can start making practice more portable and fun. Way back when I was 16 years old, I got to see a lovely drumming seminar by the drummer Greb. Benny has great musicality, technique, speed, and is all around just a super nice guy. When I was at the seminar, I knew that I was going to go to music school soon, so I asked him how much he practiced while he was in music school. I was fully expecting him to say something like 80 hours a week without fail and absolutely no exceptions no matter what. But the answer he gave me was actually pretty surprising. He said he only practiced 2 hours a week in music school. The thing is, that's the only amount he could do. At the small music school he went to, he could only practice 2 hours a week because every other drummer was vying for a single drum set to practice on. They all needed to reserve times and make sure that they could get their practice in for the week, so that left about 2 hours per person per week. Now, those 2 hours a week, yes, were very, very deep, thoughtful practice. But the thing is, when I dove deeper and asked more questions, I found out that he actually was kind of always practicing. No matter where he was, he had a little practice pad that he was practicing on, or if he was in the car, he was drumming out little rhythms on the steering wheel. He was always watching drumming DVDs, he was practicing with bands, he was basically doing everything he could to be immersed in the world of drumming. Now, while it didn't necessarily look like he was practicing all the time, he basically found a way to make practice fun and portable and in a way that he could do all the time. And this kind of portable practice led him to becoming an amazing pro drummer. And for us sound designers, the same sort of principle applies. We likely want to become pro sound designers, but we might not always have the time that we can dedicate to practicing for long hours. Even still, we can always make our practice portable and fun so that we're always immersed in the world of sound design. And when we do this, we're not spending a ton of time and energy worrying about the fact that we're not putting in 80-hour weeks. Instead, we're practicing and having loads of fun doing it. Now, like we talked about, you can't always practice in the traditional sense. There might be a million things getting in the way of you being able to sit down and get in some good quality work. You might be traveling, busy, stressed, or literally anything under the sun that's basically stopping you from doing the thing. And these sort of situations happen to everybody. There's no point of worrying about it or really beating ourselves up about it either. Instead, we just make our practice fun and portable. We want to make sure that these sessions are light, low intensity, and doable basically wherever we are, no matter what. And the thing is, you'll find that these little sessions that are portable and fun and light and easy to do, they're going to contribute a great amount to your skill overall as a sound designer. So, here are some ideas on how you can practice basically no matter where you are. The first is active listening. Now, active listening involves basically sitting somewhere, anywhere, and listening to the world around you. Most of the time, our default state is basically just going through the world, going through the motions, and not really paying attention to every single sound in our environment. But if, for example, you sit at a street corner and really listen, you'll be able to hear so many more details that you wouldn't if you were just passively walking by. You'll be able to hear the weight of different cars, what it sounds like when people are walking closer towards you and further away, what the birds sound like, what wind sounds like, what sorts of effect the temperature even has on the sound, and all sorts of other little details that most people never ever notice. And the thing is, as you do more and more of this active listening, you'll find that you're able to pick up on extra details in your work when you are sitting down at the computer and just doing your thing. Now, active listening should actually be kind of difficult to do. It's almost like sitting somewhere and doing a meditation, but you're actually really paying attention to every single sound around you. Doing even 10 minutes of this should be kind of mentally exhausting. That's how far you want to be listening in to every single sound around you. Now, kind of another side of this is recording the sounds in your environment, wherever it is you are. Going out and recording a sound and then listening back to it later, whether it be on a phone or a fancy microphone, will teach us how these microphones actually pick up audio. And the more we do that, the more we realize that there is a big difference from what our ears hear and what microphones hear. the better we get at that skill, the more we're able to pick up more interesting sounds and be able to record them with much more clarity and fidelity. We're able to place the microphone in a better position knowing, oh, this sound is like that other thing I recorded earlier. I know exactly what sorts of settings I should use and what sorts of placement I should do. So whether it be on your phone or anything fancy, it doesn't really matter for these practice sessions, but go ahead and just start recording. Now, if you have a laptop handy or an iPad or something like that, then just popping open a plugin or a synth is a great way to get better at sound design, even if you're just making some sort of garbage preset or playing with the knobs and then just seeing what happens. I do this all the time. My regular practice habit is to make at least one preset daily, even if it is the worst thing in the world. If I spend just 5 minutes on a synthesizer or a plugin that I'm not really familiar with, and I do that regularly, by the end of a year, you get pretty good at that plugin. So even if you're just making these for yourself and you're not going to show anybody, which is totally fine, you're going to really learn a lot when you just open up something that you're not really familiar with or synth you want to get better at, and just plugging around and making a preset. I also like to do just a little bit of setup for future sound design sessions. One example that I've given before in other videos is the global sampler or rolling sampler as it's also called. In Reaper, this is easily my favorite tool that I've ever used as a sound designer. Now, the 10 minutes that I spent setting this little tool up inside of Reaper has made it so that my sound design gets better and faster. Sometimes those little investments of setup make a huge difference. And by the way, even though I mentioned this in a previous video, please check out Rolling Sampler by BirdBird. It is the only plugin I would recommend to sound designers as an absolute essential. It's just game-changing. Now you might be thinking, but Akash, you sweet swirl of whipped cream crowning a delicately plated strawberry shortcake. There's no way that these tiny practice sessions are actually going to help me become a pro sound designer. And no, on their own, these tiny practice sessions aren't necessarily going to help you go pro, but they're actually going to take you quite far. And when the decision comes of doing one of these little sessions or not doing anything at all, I think there's a clear winner. And something that you'll find is that the more you do these little easy sessions, you're going to be inspired to do more real practice later on as well. So as a summary, let's talk about what we went over today. Point number one, we don't necessarily always have the time or energy for these deep, long-hour practice sessions. But, and that leads to point number two, we can always find ways to make our practice more fun, light, and portable so we can get that work in basically no matter where we are. And point number three, even the smallest practice sessions can have the biggest results. So you may be in the same situation as our drummer friend Benny Greb, in that you don't necessarily have loads of time to practice and sit down and just do your thing. And that's totally fine. If you do just a small amount of practice daily, you'll end up as a monster in no time. And if you want more pointers on how to practice and what exactly to do, I'm releasing a self-paced version of my step-by-step sound design course later on this fall. This version 3 is going to be completely new and totally updated for you. It's also going to be self-paced instead of live, so you'll be able to take it at your own pace. I'll be announcing release dates, times, prices, schedules, all that sort of stuff in the coming months. If you're on my newsletter, you'll be the first to know when it's coming, and you'll be the first to be able to sign up. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. Go pet a dog.